Her name was to be Sand Pablo, a unique vessel slowly taking form in a small Hong Kong shipyard. Soon, she would look like this, a replica of American gunboats that once plied the Yangtze. And soon, she would play a role in a motion picture. Her director, Robert Wise, already talked of her as almost human. From the first wedges of lumber and the spitting blue flames of welding torches, Hull 287 was a bulky ship, a very stubborn lady who minded her own heading and often went her own way. She was definitely not a mock-up, nor a ship built for a tank on a film studio lot. She was 150 feet in length, steel-hulled with decks of teak, fully fitted to operate in the waters of Taiwan and Hong Kong. Bob Wise followed her construction throughout 6 months, often prowling about the half-completed deck with her designer, Boris Levin, checking and rechecking each component. In time, Wise would have to use her as an actor, or perhaps I should say, an actress. Already he envisioned the scenes that would be played aboard her. In his novel, The Sand Pebbles, Richard McKenna had described her as stubby, blocky, moon-white, except for a slender black smokestack that rose high as her 2 masts. And that's how the ship called San Pablo looked at launching hour in Hong Kong, midsummer 1965. A shiny white throwback to uneasy days of gunboat diplomacy. Ceremonies mean much to the Chinese, and she was adequately and formally launched. Nautical pennants, whistles, a pretty girl, and a bottle of champagne. Oh, and of course, firecrackers. In early fall, she crossed the South China Sea and made land in the port of Keelung on the green island of Taiwan, Republic of China. Within a few weeks, she began to earn back her cost. Acting. Her big red diesels hummed steadily, babied by a Chinese engine crew. She was, in a way, a floating stage with generators to power brute arcs, a sound room for recording dialogue, wardrobe space to outfit actors like Ford Rainey, and makeup, where co-star Dick Crenna received his daily daub. The only thing a bit false about San Pablo was the smoke from her stack. It was manufactured in a special effects boiler amidships. And perhaps most important of all, Shane Miao. Captain Shane Miao. He ran a ship as it should be run. Former officer in the Nationalist Chinese Navy, he liked spit and polish, traditional Navy style. He worked his Chinese crew hard. They polished, rubbed, and fussed over San Pablo. And then he coordinated his own efforts with associate producer Charles Maguire. But it was a new and strange experience for Shane. Movie talk and movie people, like Steve McQueen and Candice Bergen. San Pablo sailed daily into the Tamsui River, playing her role of an intruding 1926 Navy gunboat. Camera barges always following. There were warm, sunny days like this, and then there were mornings like this. Skies hooded down as sampans were towed into position, part of a Yankee go-home force surrounding her. Mornings bleak and chill, when San Pablo looked forlorn, and this morning she did seem out of sorts. Her stern was aground, and Captain Miao ordered small landing craft of the Chinese Navy to push her free. The frustration of it all showed plainly on his face. An embarrassing position for a captain, and perhaps even more so on Christmas Eve day. When skies opened up, we usually ducked inside a small Taipei studio for interiors, sometimes concentrating on a new young actress from Bangkok, Marayat Andrian, who plays Meili, a brothel girl. And when she smiled, well, we could forget the rain. It was a long winter on that river, a bleak, cold winter. And there were many days when the wind howled down from Manchuria, taking all the glamour away from making a motion picture. It became little more than slugging through each grey hour. In late winter, weather turned again, sunny now, and we took up residence at Changsha Bund, built at the fishing village of Tamsui. Ancient Siang River port in Hunan province, Changsha was a stopping place for junks and sampans that traversed Tungting Lake and Yangtze tributaries, discharging cargoes along the way. The face of old China was on it. In March 1966, the Sand Pebbles went ashore, while San Pablo was being prepared to return to Hong Kong for additional filming. We recreated a Shanghai street in the heart of Taipei, bustling capital city of Taiwan. I walked it, feeling the pulse of the Orient as it was in the mid-20s. Surging, noisy, pounding pulse. Filming on Shanghai Street was difficult, and pressure was on both Robert Wise and cameraman Joe McDonald. It was difficult just to move through the crowds. Junks on a barge and San Pablo firmly tethered got underway in late March for Hong Kong to resume photography in British Crown Colony waters. The South China Seas were rough, and the convoy labored slowly across, reporting position to Hong Kong every 12 hours. At this stage, it would be unthinkable to lose her. But eventually, she came through unscarred. Lantau Island under the brow of the mainland was next. Graceful river junks were on parade, sailing as they have done for centuries. A novel but handy place for a barber shop was a tug's after deck. Children extras receiving haircuts before playing in the background of a touch of romance. Meanwhile, an unusual engineering job had begun in the waters of Sai Kung, north of Hong Kong. A river blockade of 14 junks, linked by a 25-ton bamboo and hemp rope, was being put together. It was spiked with deadly impaling sticks and linked to each shore. San Pablo would break through it in hand-to-hand combat. Other preparations had also begun for the battle. Shells were being painted aboard ship. And there was activity on Tung Ku Island, lonely storage area for our gunpowder blockhouse. Over 20,000 rounds of ammunition would be expended. Explosives were carefully mixed, and it was all supported by 35 working boats and barges, each identified with our fleet pennant. During this period, San Pablo was usually churning along, a strange sight in the sleepy islands. Life aboard was wait, talk, and work, rehearse and shoot. But people, not cameras, make pictures. On long locations, they act remarkably like people. There were other memorable days, too. Like the day news was radioed from Hollywood that The Sound of Music, Wise's last picture, had received 5 Academy Awards. shooting stopped, and Shane Meow's crew member lion dancers took over. A crazy sort of Chinese hell broke loose aboard San Pablo. It was show business in one of its happiest moments. But then there was that other business of making a motion picture. Battle over, fires were extinguished. Soon, San Pablo would be filmed moving through the broken blockade, and quiet would return to the calm Sai Kung waters. On May the 15th, 1966, Wise presented gifts to the gunboat's crew. Beaming Shane Meow looked on. Then Wise was piped over the side in good Navy tradition. Shane and his men had planned the ceremony for weeks. It was proper and fitting. Wise accepted the hauled-down commissioning pennant and took departure. With, of course, an inevitable firecracker salute. For as long as he lives, for as long as we all live, actors, technicians, sailors, none of us would ever forget the ship called San Pablo.